In this episode, I get a chance to interview a coach and also a client of mine, Tracy Goodwin. Now, Tracy has been instrumental for myself and other like-minded entrepreneurs to have more impact and influence when it comes to your voice. And when I say voice, I'm not just talking about voice inflections and trying to sound cool and things like that, but really unleashing and unlocking that which is holding you back and making you play safe. Because as you'll see in this episode, there were so many times to where I was working from my past, wanting to show up more powerfully, but my subconscious was blocking me. And in doing more deep work with Tracy, which I called transformation work with her, she was able to help me see what it was in my past that had me showing up in a certain way in my business. And until I really saw that, things were not working. So take it from me, pay close attention to Tracy, follow her, follow what she's doing because she's doing phenomenal work. And I'm telling you, this right here, the work she's doing will absolutely change everything for your life and business. So stay tuned. I'm Adam Kiddoo, and it's time to master the art of real heart alignment, where you live, work, and play from your personal power as energy aligns, your gifts flow, and life simply works. These life-changing conversations are designed to help you to see what you're not seeing, hear what you're not hearing, and to be who you're not being, as the world needs more heart-centered leaders now more than ever. Are you ready to say no to living a half-hearted life and say yes instead to boldly living from a place of real heart alignment? Welcome to the Adam Kiddoo podcast. And without further introduction, I bring you Tracy Goodwin.
Thank you, Adam. It's so good to be here with you. Thanks for having me on the show.
Absolutely. You were one of the first people I thought about when I was kicking this show off because you've had such an impact in my life. So I'm excited to dive in.
Oh, well, I'm glad to hear that. I'm glad to be here, and I'm glad I've made an impact for you.
Yeah. So I know I covered a little bit of this in the intro, but I'll go ahead and I'll let Tracy give us a little introduction as well. But first of all, I wanted to share that, I've taken transformational programs before, taken different programs, but I really got such a profound transformation in working with Tracy because there were certain things, these blind spots that I was really holding back. And I was trying to be somebody that I wasn't online. And even looking back at some of my older videos, I was speaking loud and I was trying to kind of force the conversation and being demanding and almost pushing a little bit. And it just felt out of alignment and inauthentic. And Tracy just asked a few questions and does what she does so gracefully and elegantly. And I was able to see exactly why I was doing that. And in awareness, you then have the opportunity to choose something new. So we're going to get into a lot of that and more in this episode, and I'm excited to dive in. So Tracy, tell us a little bit about yourself and just kind of how you got to this standpoint of working with entrepreneurs and helping them to stand more powerfully for their heart's message, if you will.
Sure. And I won't go all the way back to the beginning, but it's really been a journey to get to this point. And a lot of times I will say, well, I'm a voice coach. And everybody says, don't call yourself a voice coach. That's the $1 million question is, what is it that I call myself? I transform lives from the inside out through the vehicle of the voice, which is the greatest asset we have. And people don't realize that. People don't always think about it. They certainly don't maximize it. And I've been doing this work over 30 years. Now, I never planned per se to be a voice coach. I've really had a very interesting upbringing. A concept that was common in my generation of children are to be seen and not heard. So I really wasn't allowed to use my voice. It never would have entered my mind that I would do the work that I do today and have been given the gift of the ear that I have. I became an actor and I became a director. And I was acting and I was directing, and people kept finding me to coach their voices. I knew that I could hear things in a way that was a little bit mind-bending. I didn't even realize what it was, but I was truly running from the purpose of being a voice coach, because to me, how could that be with the way I was raised? And after being an actor and being a director, and this is Yellow Pages days, people finding me to coach their voices. And I'm thinking, okay, this is weird, but I'll do it. And it expanded and it grew into some really big, cool stuff, like teaching actors' dialects and Fortune 500 executives finding me to remove their dialects, and coaching for Mike Nichols. And so I was really in that actor realm. And then I moved into the professional realm, the executives, that type of folk. And this was long before Zoom, right? And I was working with people via Skype, living in New York City. And then that morphed into working with entrepreneurs and I love working with everybody, but I really love working with entrepreneurs, and I teach them and work with them through a methodology that I created over all these years called Psychology of the Voice, that I think is pretty magical and is the transformation vehicle, along with an ear that I discovered that I had. I literally can hear sounds all the way down to the heart. I hear the layers of the sounds, and I will hear the sound that we hear that is the audible top layer, but I hear all the layers down to the heart. And that can freak people out a little bit. So I don't always, I usually just go to work. And when I go to work, I focus on how you are being processed in the listener's subconscious and peeling away those layers that are no longer serving you.
Yeah.
And that's it in a short, long version.
No, that's so good. And that's exactly what I experience as well. And it's so funny, like you said, it's just like, what do you do? I'm a voice coach, and people are like, oh, you get people to talk in different tones and talk louder or quieter and things like that. And that's, one small fraction of it. But the real work really is in Tracy's gift of, and I like to joke around with Tracy a little bit. I'm like, I can read people better than anybody, but Tracy, she competes tooth and nail with me. And, I got inside her program, I got a one-to-one coaching call with her. And within the first, she wasn't messing around. Within the first 10 minutes, she asked me some questions to where my brain, she just kind of sits there, she listens, and she has you kind of do a bit. Or, she's like, if you were talking to somebody in an enrollment conversation or presenting an offer, just go through that, or do a video that you would do out on social media. So I would do that. And she asked one question, and my mind, literally, I can feel it skips back all the way back to my childhood. And I'm like, yeah, that's exactly, yeah, that's right. How did you know that? And she, probably, this is her work too, is to try to explain what she does in a way, because she's also building this thing out to where she wants to train other coaches to learn this gift as well. But it's such a beautiful thing to watch, because she'll get to the root of it, which shines a light on something. And then at that standpoint, she helps you to dissect it and to choose again. And in those moments, these deep-seated subconscious patterns, and they turn into masks, which I'm sure we'll talk about in this conversation, those will continue to have you show up in a certain way that's probably people are tuning out, is pushing some people away, and you're not the best version of yourself because of these things that happened as a kid. You often can't see it, but the questions Tracy asks unlocks that. So, and there was a fun conversation we had to where she helped me to see just how much we create our reality. And she didn't even say anything like this, but we were having our conversation and it got uncomfortable. We went deep in certain areas, and there was this fly that just kept bombarding me and hitting me in the face and things like that. And she's like, your subconscious is probably bringing that into your reality. I was like, and it had me thinking as well that there's a lot of times where I'm doing a video or I was going to record a podcast, and then the baby would cry, or a dump truck drives by and things like that. And that was kind of like my frustration. It was my safety net. And now that I started seeing that, hey, look, I'm creating this and I can free myself from my subconscious and my limitations. I no longer have these things happen. As crazy as it sounds, but what do you have to add to that? Sorry, I know I kind of got on my own little spiel about that. Anything to stand out there?
That was the whole thing in a nutshell. You touched on every pillar of psychology of the voice in one way or another. But I think the most important thing that I want, I'll start saying that about everything. So let me just back on that. Let me just back up on that. But what people don't realize, what I just heard you really honing in on, is that the way we use our voice is literally determined by our mind, by our subconscious. And we're taught you have vocal cords, you have to breathe, you've got to do this. And all of that is true. But what my research showed me, and this started with my dialect work. I was fascinated with, why do I sound Texan and the Irish sound Irish? I mean, they sound really cool. And I'm teaching dialects, and I realized in that moment, and of course I'm a deep researcher, but the Irish has to fit into the Irish family. So the subconscious, trying to protect the heart, the voice is the orchestra of the heart. The subconscious can't have the Irish baby sounding like me. The parents will be like, what is this? Right? So the subconscious literally takes information in. I can shift how I'm holding my face and be Irish, just like that. It's something that happens in the muscle memory of my face. So the Irish baby fits in, the Texas baby fits in. And I thought, okay, is there more to this? And I started seeing people like you, like executives, like professionals sitting in front of me. And I would ask them these questions. I didn't know where these questions would come from, but they would have a real quiet voice. And I would say, do you have siblings? And they would say, I have 6 older sisters. And what I discovered, and this is the mind-bending piece, is that before we're 5 years old, one phrase establishes the core driver in our mind on how we're going to use our voice for the rest of our life. And then it's established in the muscle memory, just like a dialect. So for this guy that was really quiet, he had input before he was 5 of his sisters going, stop talking, you're too loud. And his subconscious went, don't worry, I've got this. And little by little, to protect his heart, he got quiet. And now here he is, 38, going, I can't make the impact I want in my business. And I've been told a gabillion times to speak louder, and it isn't working. It's never going to work. That driver is calling the shots.
Yeah. And what's unfortunate is you can push and try to, talk louder and accentuate, and you can try to come alive. But as long as that driver's there, as long as you are allowing that subconscious program to run the show, you're going to fight against it, and you're going to have so much resistance, you're probably going to burn out. And so it takes doing a program like Tracy's program to really unlock and unleash that version of yourself, but it really takes some inner work, which is crazy. And as entrepreneurs, just like everybody, we were raised in a society that if we need to go to the bathroom, we're raising our hand. If we have a question to ask, we're raising our hand. We're in a permission-based society. And for me, what I uncovered was I had something that happened in my childhood to where I wanted to make sure if I speak out, if I do something, it's controlled. I know exactly what the outcome is going to be, because I don't want to put myself out there and be in this vulnerable place to where I could get in trouble or get yelled at. So everything was calculated, everything was controlled, and that was coming through in me unable to fully connect with people. And seeing that, and there, there's more work, right? There's more work, but unlocking that one thing radically changed how I feel on camera and on video and doing podcasts and all this stuff. And it just allowed me to be more of myself. So that's some of the work here. So where we want to dive in here? Can we give some thoughts about how people can do this? I mean, yes, obviously you guys got to work with Tracy in one capacity or another. And she continually every, quarter or so does some free trainings here and there. So keep an eye out on that, and even reach out to Tracy and connect. But yeah, how do they kind of get started a little bit so they can help themselves just a little bit?
Sure. So let me first say this. None of this is bad. I don't hear bad voices. I don't, go, oh man, we've got a disaster here. You sound off. People come to me and they say, I hate the sound of my voice. I don't hear voices that way. And here's the thing. Yes, every single sound is being processed by the subconscious of the listener, but it doesn't mean it's bad. It means you may not be revealing the best version of you. And so I want to talk about a step everybody can take in each of the 3 pillars. But I want to say something about, well, I'm successful. Fantastic. You can be successful without Tracy Goodwin. But what I want you to know is there's a whole nother level, because you just said something about there's always more work. And this is a giant rubber band ball. Somebody the other day called this work some kind of soup or something. And I thought that was so good, because there's always another level. There's always a way to reach more people when you stop holding back. See, just like the guy with the sisters, he was holding back. He didn't even know why. So pillar 1 is all about inner freedom and confidence. It's all about the stories and drivers. This is where we look at, are you trying to get the words right? Which is 95% of the people on. If I get the words right, I'll get what I want. No, you won't. No, you won't. I hate to break that illusion, right? But you have to start working from a different internal place. There's a million things I could say in this moment, but one of the things that you can do is when you will start paying attention to the noise in your head. I got to get this right. Don't make them mad. What are they going to think? Who cares? Get in the now and have a conversation in the now. Listen, I will repeat. In the now is the only place your voice can work. Because in the now, I'm grounded in my heart. Remember, the voice is the orchestra of my heart. When I'm off thinking about, what are you thinking about? And oh, I already know what you're thinking about. You're thinking, I'm not doing a very good job and I better ramp it up and be more captivating, because I can tell by the look of your face that you don't even like anything I'm saying. And you just, no, you got to get in the now and you got to have a conversation, and you've got to start questioning that noise. You don't know what you're talking about. Well, hold on a minute. Is that ultimately true? And what you're going to find is the subconscious is lying to you. It is trying to trick you into believing, I think you don't know what you're talking about, but you don't know what I'm thinking. So why are you just handing over your power? So that's something I would say about pillar 1. Question those stories and get in the now. Get in the now. Let me have a conversation with you right here, right now. I'm trusting it. I have no idea what you're going to ask me next. And I'm not worried about it either. I know in my presence, in this conversation, I'm going to have what I need to say, exactly what your people need to hear.
Yeah. So good. So good. And yet again, this is fun because I get to recap where I was working from. And you had said too, in some of our coaching, it's just like, how often do you restart a video? You start going and then you get something wrong and you restart it. Chances are you're working from trying to get the words right. You want to sound smart. If I use these fancy words and sound smart, people are going to think that I know what I'm talking about and they're going to want to buy. That's not why people want to buy. They want to buy because they know that you care. They know that, you're the type of person that they can trust because you're going to be real and authentic with them. They're going to buy because you're going to stand for them, not for their limitations. That's more likely going to have them buy, not by you trying to find the words. And I was even coaching somebody on a call for James today, James Wedmore. And I could see as soon as they went up into their minds, their eyes would shoot up and they're trying to recall what they had wrote before. And I asked a question about, what they're offering, and they're just trying to recall. And that's something that Tracy helped me to get out of there as well, because I want to, yet again, control. I want to make sure that I look good and don't look bad. And I want to make sure that if I'm putting myself out there, I've got a handle on things. So I'm trying to recall, what have I said before? What looked good before, and things like that. You can't connect with people when you're moving backwards. So there's so many little nuances like that are going to continue to pull you out of that moment to where your heart's gone. You're in your head. And I like to say, when you're in your head, you're dead. So get back in that moment. Very, very beautiful. Beautiful, beautiful.
Well, and what people don't think about or even realize is, let's say I am in my head trying to think about the smart words to say about voice. There's now a hesitation, and that hesitation is being processed as, in your subconscious, maybe not yours, Adam, but in the listener's subconscious, does she even know what she's talking about?
Yeah.
She sounds like she doesn't even know what she's talking about.
Yep.
So you see, you can't control that outcome. You can only control the conversation. And it starts by letting me in, which is what pillar 2 is about. It's about connection. It is stop hiding behind your smart words and you're needing to prove, and let me keep everybody happy because I'm a people pleaser, or let me convince you, or let me justify, or let me buffer, or let me give you 40 million words you don't need to hear. They're what I call voice masks, and they are repellents. And you think you need them because you do not think you are enough.
Yeah.
And that is a full stop right there on you are worthy because you are. If your voice is the orchestra of your heart, we need to come to terms with that right now, because if you don't think you're worthy and you've got to convince or you're going to pick up every kind of mask known to man. And it's really like bulletproof glass. I can see you and I can hear you, but I cannot touch you. I cannot connect with you. So we have to take a look at what are you picking up and hiding behind? Because I'm going to tell you, it ain't going to help you. You're not going to, I have a lot of people, Adam, that they go into this justification buffering thing. Like, I've got to give you bad news, but if I justify or buffer, okay, that didn't change the bad news. That just wrecked your credibility. Right? That just took away all your power. And so that's an example of voice masks. And I can tie the two together with one of my favorite stories, which was about a man who came to me. He said, Tracy, I think I'm repelling potential customers. And I said, he was an entrepreneur. And I said, you are. And he said, how do you know? And I just looked at him point blank, Adam, and I said, what are you trying to prove? And his face went white, just jaw dropped. And he said, I spent my whole life trying to prove my worth to my father. And there it was. Story, mask, repellent. They weren't getting to see the real version of him.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, and it was costing him business. It was costing him money. And it was a mask that he was hiding behind. And that you've mentioned control several times. He was trying to control the outcome. He wanted to prove to these people he knew what he was talking about. He knew that he could help them. He knew that wasn't making it happen. Showing me who you are, showing me your heart, and revealing it through your voice is what's going to make me go, that guy can help me. That's my guy. That's my guy right there. Oh, I love her. She gets me. Or these relatable moments. And that's what we look at in pillar 3. Are you captivating me? Are you compelling me? Are you revealing who you really are? And I'll tell you, 99.9% of the people that think they're doing it, they're not doing it to the degree that we can take, that we can go to, right?
Yeah. And it sounds like we must go in this order, because if we start out with the captivating things, and yet again, there's voice coaches out there that are teaching all the voice techniques. But if that's the case, if you haven't done the deeper inner work, then you're putting, as James Wedmore so eloquently says, you're putting whipped cream on garbage. So you must go in this order in order to really be able to hit the levels of who you are. And I even, in speaking back to the conversation, the coaching conversation with this gal today, I helped her to get in the moment. And I said, look, speak to me. Speak to me. I'm a safe place. Speak to me, right? Don't speak to the hundreds of people. Now, yet again, another thing, Tracy helped. She asked me, she was like, who are you speaking to? I knew, everyone. Everyone.
What's the right answer here?
No. Speak to one person, right? One person. And she was trying to speak and appeal to everyone, which meant she was appealing to no one. And I told her, I said, speak to me. Right. And then so she spoke to me. She basically presented the offer to me, and everybody in the comments was lighting up. Oh my gosh, that was so good. That was so good. And that's because she let go of the need to be a certain way. She let go of the fear of being judged and looking foolish and all that stuff. And she was just present. She was there, and she didn't need to search for the words. She didn't go up in her brain and access the words, and she came alive more. Mm-hmm. And that's the beauty of it, is being able to ground yourself in that moment. But also there is more, like Tracy says, more shades to you. There's more ways for you to come alive and to captivate at even greater scale. So this is a beautiful conversation. I like this. And I like the flow of everything. It makes sense.
And it really does, because think about it. If somebody says, well, just be more dynamic, and you've got a voice in your head going, well, I wish you'd stop bothering everybody, you're not going to be able to. Look, here's the thing that makes me crazy. People will say, well, just remember to breathe or just remember to speak up. No, it doesn't work that way. You've got an internal driver and you've got something external in the muscle memory. We have to create a new habit. We're dealing with habits here, right? My habit is I speak quieter because I don't want to bother anybody. Okay. I can't just go, well, just speak louder. No, it's not going to work. And it's not who you are. Mm. And that's what the core of this is ultimately about. I don't want to talk about who you think I want you to be.
Yeah.
I will always get this question. Well, what's my video guy voice? No. It's always the same. I teach this way. I speak this way. I do podcast interviews this way. Come for Thanksgiving dinner. I'm going to talk to you this way. It's always, you always know you're going to get this version of me. Mm-hmm. And the world doesn't teach us to do that. The world teaches us, well, read their faces and watch what they're doing and don't be too big. And the subconscious is aiding and abetting that. I have so many people that say, well, I think I'm being really expressive. No, you're not. And that's because the subconscious is going, wow, that's excellent, Judy. And we're out here hearing banana, but you're safe.
Yeah.
And that's what it's all about. That subconscious wants you to believe you're being as dynamic and playing all the shades. But, I talk about the voice being the orchestra of the heart. Orchestras have a lot of instruments, and yet most people deliver a one-man band.
Wow. Yeah. And that also reminds me too of an exercise that I did in your program was, you were like, come alive in it. And I did. And I felt like I was stretching the edges a little bit. And then you were like, what do you guys think? And everybody's like, it's okay. And I was like, what? I went for it. And it does. And we have these governors on these, these restrictions. And it takes us knowing, and we like to think there is an edge. I dare to say there's not. Right. So we have an opportunity to come alive and come alive and come alive and come alive. And, you mentioned Thanksgiving dinner, which I thought was cool because that reminded me when I really knew this work was working, I had a conversation with my father-in-law, and the old bit used to go, he would ask me a question and then I'd start speaking. And then all of a sudden he's talking to somebody else. He's done that numerous times. And I'm like, do I keep talking or whatever? And we had like a 45-minute conversation because I was in the moment and I was just being excited about what I was excited about. And he kept asking questions. And it wasn't until later on down the road, I was like, wow, this is like, he's really kind of captivated here. That was my first aspect of it. And that gave me a taste to see, hey, look, if I can just be captivating in a natural conversation, then I can be myself and be captivating on video or audio or whatever too. So this is a real deal. And it's not just about showing up online to grow your business. Yeah, that's a direct correlation from the work you're going to do, but you're going to connect deeper with people in life, which I dare to say is much more valuable than what you can do with your business. So, man, beautiful.
Yeah, I've heard that. I've heard a lot of people say, wow, I came to you to help me with my business and you changed my relationship with my daughter, or you changed my relationship with my sister, or you changed how I feel. I would have a mutual friend, and in her testimonial of working with me, she said, well, I came to Tracy to help me make cuter, better videos, to be a little, have a little bit better videos. And wow, I mean, we got that knocked out, and then we moved on to the life-changing stuff.
Yeah.
And it's in so many ways, and maybe this is one of my greatest frustrations, is people don't understand the power of making people feel something, the power of revealing, who I am. And in this opportunity, in this revelation of who I am, I'm not pretending to be anything I'm not. You have the opportunity to go, wow, she gets me. Wow, that resonates with my heart. I have to know that. But if I had sat here calculating information about psychology of the voice, is 3 points and principles that I'd like to share,
Please
it's like,
don't.
right, and I mean, the brain tells us every 7 seconds to check out.
Mm.
When I started this work many years ago, it was closer to 2 minutes. So here you are trying to get the words right. Well, hi, everyone. I am trying to get this right. I'm already out.
Yeah.
Okay. Your 7 seconds passed. I don't know who you are. I'm scrolling on by.
You're checking Facebook, as you said before.
I got to check some Facebook. I don't know
See
what's
going on
happening over
Facebook.
here,
I'm
but I'm
going
to go check some Facebook and see if I can find some action over there, because I'm not going to stay to hear you drone on. Oh, that sounds very harsh, doesn't it? And I don't mean it to be. I want you to know I'm your greatest champion. I'm incredibly direct because of the way I hear things. And I know I'm not serving you if I don't say, oh, wow, I think you're being perceived as condescending. But you're just not maximizing. You're just not maximizing. Yep. And you're locked up in, what do I say to get this right? And we're gone. We don't know you're the person to help us.
Yep. Yep.
And the lights are on and we're staring at you, but we've not heard a word that you've said. And, I've worked with a lot of actors and television shows. And one of the things that I've noticed, and I don't really work with actors much anymore, but the casting director, I don't know if anybody's ever gone to an audition, but you walk in the audition room and it's a little freaky because everybody looks just like you. It's like, whoa, there's 42 people that look just like me. And I was fascinated by this. And I had a point to prove that surely the voice must play into this. And so I did a research study on casting directors. And of course, chemistry is part of it. There are pieces that are part of it, but every one of them said to me, we're looking for the sound of the character that the producer has described.
Wow.
And I believe that is what everybody's ideal client is doing. They are looking for a sound that creates an emotional connection that makes them go, that's the one.
Yeah. Take
all my money, take it right now. You are the one to help me.
Wow.
And it has nothing to do with the words. It has nothing to do with the words. And we drone on and we drone on and we drone on and we drone on with all these words on one note. And let me just blow your mind for another minute. Everybody has a voice aversion. So if I'm loud and I'm loud and I'm loud and I'm loud and I'm loud, and Adam is my ideal client, but he cannot tolerate loud, I have left him behind. And he's going to go, just like that casting director, look for the sound.
Mm-hmm. Yep. And you're right. And, being able to hit the ranges, you can be loud, but if you're hammering on loud, you nailed it. Of course, you're spot on with that. That is one of my aversions when people are speaking loud, because that's
it?
Yeah, that's what used to scare me as a kid, right? It's just like if somebody's loud and things like that, that makes me think I did something wrong, and I go back into my shell. So I immediately retract from that. And so it's wild, because I talk a lot about our fears of the caveman society. And it was the same thing back then. If you are shunned from your community, if you do not fit in, if you're not pulling your weight, if you're not of value, you're good as dead. I mean, you'll get kicked out of the community. They're not just going to, usually just, waste resources on you and things like that. So that's a real ingrained fear in us. Then we have, on top of that, our childhood memories of, don't ask for things, and, use your indoor voice and all this stuff, being trained to fit into this box of what society thinks we should be. And then as entrepreneurs, we want to come alive. We want to stand out, but all the while there's this side that's fighting us. We can push against that, but in resistance, you're going to continue to have resistance. But if you do hit this where, if you go to the root of the problem, the deeper subconscious root. And also, as Tracy helps you to do and helped me to do so greatly, is to get centered in the moment and focus on how you want people to feel. It simplifies everything. And she has ingrained in my brain, call it a belief, but I see there's major truth to this. You always have the words. The words are always there. It's just about being completely centered, completely present, and connecting in order to make people feel something. Because that's all we want anyways, is to feel something, right?
Yeah. And see, that's another one of those lies of the mind that is aided and abetted by society. If you focus on the words, you are going to go up in your head. Your voice cannot work when you are up in your head. So we are trained to create this habit of, if I get the words right, I'll get what it is I need and want. People are often dumbfounded when one of the first things I ask them is, what do you want me to feel? Well, I don't know. I don't know. I mean, why would I? Why? Because that's the everything. That is the way you're going to reach my heart, is reveal how you feel. Well, hold on, and no feelings allowed. That's not professional. Okay. That's another lie of the mind.
Yep.
You got to make me feel something. And it is when you use the full orchestra of your voice, you have the power to make me feel that you can trust me. Trust is built in melody. It's built in a sound. Science has proven that. You have no melody, you're going to have to work harder to get that potential client to trust you. You want me to feel inspired. You want me to feel excited. I'm probably not going to feel as excited about working with you if you don't give me any of that in your voice. You know what I'm saying?
Yep. And another big component too was the pause. Pause was a death sentence for me. Like, no, I pause, like people will tune out and no, and you made it in the direct correlation is when you pause, that lets people know that you care.
Yeah, it is the most powerful instrument. And you know, the core body of my research that I love the most is in microscopic sounds that are processed in the subconscious of the listener. And as I studied that for 10 years, what I discovered was, one, everybody hates the pause. It's uncomfortable. I'm going to get cut off. They're going to think I don't know what all this noise around, I cannot pause because. But what I discovered was, in that pause, you subconsciously process that I care about you. It doesn't get any better than that. I do care about you. But if I want you to know how I can help you and work with you or whatever it is, don't I want you to know that? Yeah, well, it's my voice or lack thereof when I pause that's going to plug that in.
Yep. And me, yet again, as a case study of this whole entire conversation, Tracy even said, and I love the whole metaphor analogy of this, is you're down the tracks. And I wasn't giving people an opportunity to catch up and to collect. And what's also in doing a pause, and what's also beautiful about a pause is it allows me to collect as well. It's for both of us. It's the sacred moment. But, and I heard this years ago. It's like, there's so many people in the world, they cannot do silence. It's like, they just have to chitter chatter. And if it's silent, they have to feel the silence. But silence is, to me, beautiful. It's beautiful. It's a gift. And so when you can share that sacred moment of a pause with somebody, your listener, or somebody on your video, that's connection. It's deeper connection.
Yeah. Yeah. And there's just so many little nuances. I mean, think about asking, you're doing a video. I don't know what you know. You maybe want to ask a question, or maybe you want to dive right into your content. And I don't know what you know. And you click go, and all of a sudden, here you go, you're delivering me information about what I need to do and how I need to do this and how I need to do that and I'm going, okay, let me listen to this. Oh, wait a minute. I have no idea what they're talking about. I think I'll go check Facebook. Right?
Yeah.
That's what I'll go do. And then people are like, why aren't people watching my videos? They tried. They don't know what you know. And you're on this mission that is potentially the wrong mission. You've got to say that first line of the video, give me a pause, let me get in the plane, maybe even get me a little beverage. And then we go off together. And now I'm with you, and now I can hear you. You know, the number one thing people go to, and this is another thing that is just heartbreaking to me. Well, I speak really fast, Tracy, because that's how I'm going to captivate my listener. If I go really fast, I'm going to keep them with me. That is the guarantee that you won't.
Mm.
And yet that's what people do. Hi, welcome to the video. I'm glad you're here. Today, I'm going to talk to you about the 3 steps of psychology of the voice. Now, psychology of the voice has 3 components to it. And you're like, I think I'm going to go check Facebook.
Yeah. And check this out. This is actually subconscious in a lot of people as well. And I used to do it. We'll say, this is going to be a quick video. It's almost like you're apologizing if you were to take your time and to expand on what you're sharing. And so if you're constantly rushing and you feel like you're wasting people's time, that's yet again another deep internal driver that's driving you and your customers apart. If you don't pay them the service of being fully present with them and really making sure the plane lands, you're going to miss the whole entire boat. You're going to miss it all. So give your people a chance to be there with you.
Well, and that's the difference right there and you've brought this up a couple of times. That's the difference in, let me control this outcome. I got to get you to this outcome. I got to control what you think, and I got to make you like me, and I got to get you some words. There is no power in controlling the outcome. The power is in controlling the conversation by the way you make me feel.
Yeah. Yes. And I'm glad this came up too, because it even comes to a standpoint to where individual words can make you feel something. So it's not just one, how do I want them to feel? Because I want people to feel love, right? That's my main thing. But also there's times where I want people to feel a little uncertain, or I want people to feel very expansive in a different way, or excited, right? So even the voice inflection of me saying excited, right? That's, that builds some excitement. And yet again, real world example, when I first started reading books to my little man, I mean, Tracy and I worked together. He was probably 3, 4, 5 months or something like that. And he was just tuning me out on them darn storybooks. And then I started looking for opportunities to really accentuate if I'm talking about little or if I'm talking about big, I'm able to come alive in these individual words. So that's the power of this, is you get to tell a story in your words and you get to come alive more. And it's not just about one speed or voice inflection or talking louder or talking quieter or doing the, soft voice or the loud voice, whatever. It's about letting that become a part of you and you a part of it. So it's working together, but it does take that deeper inner work of letting go, being present. That is a theme in this podcast we continue to circle back to, letting go and being present.
Well, it's the willingness in many, many ways to reveal who I really am.
Oh,
I am not capable of making you like me. It is not humanly possible. I would love it if you would. Of course, I want you to like me, but I cannot control that, right? I can only control this conversation by showing you who I am. And this is where people don't always maximize. And I love what you just said, but there are shades of feeling and emotion. There are shades within shades. There are elements of vocal variety. There are shades within shades of elements of vocal variety. I mean, I always give the example of blue. There are how many shades of blue? I mean, I'm looking at you on the screen and I'm seeing more than I can count right before my very eyes, yet we say blue. And navy is not baby. And that's maximizing the power of our voice. I call it when I can get you in the water with me, when I can use my voice in such a way that I create the story that you are standing there fly fishing with me. We have moved on to an emotional connection. Yeah. And it's really fun.
Yeah. And that's the business we're in. More than anything, this world needs connection. So if you are talking at your people, trying to look like you're the expert, and yet again, I'm speaking from experience, I did it for far too long. If you're coming down at people, you guys need to be doing this, you need to be doing that, and, and force feeding your message and your content to people are going to, some people are going to love it, right? Because that's exactly what they need, but you are pushing away more people than you're helping. When you can let go of all the needs, and like Tracy said, I love this too, be willing to be that best version of you. That's exciting. And I will say, I launched my heart-centered selling mastery program right after Tracy and I worked together. And even then it was just like, I was really just allowing myself to be me. And my very first training video that I did, I pre-recorded it. And I was like, man, I feel like I missed the mark. I missed the mark. And Tracy watched a little bit ago and a little bit of it at that point. And she said, no, you were on. And so it's hard for us to judge how we're really showing up, but I knew I was present. And so many people they were just blown away by that training. And it comes to show that we can stay out of our heads and trust ourselves and continue to come alive. Good things happen. I mean, really good things happen. So many people had so many breakthroughs in that training, and it wasn't just the curriculum of the training. It was my energy as well.
Yeah. And that's perception, reception. And that's another trick of the subconscious. What you perceive you're putting out is not what we're receiving. And we have to line that up. And I guess, really in all of it, and that was a perfect example. I remember when you had me look at that, and I was kind of braced for this to be bad, right? I think you kind of set it up like, oh man, this was a disaster. This was a train wreck. And so I kind of braced myself because I know I always have to say what I hear. And I was, wow, this is the best thing I've ever seen you do, and we just have to let go of that outcome.
Yeah.
We just have to take it up to that next level and be a little bit more expressive. I always say to people, I'm not trying to turn you into me. This is me. I work at a high energy. They say I'm dramatic. Okay, fine, whatever. This is who I am. But I find that people play smaller rather than bigger. And every single time people say, oh, here you come with that circus clown stuff, right? I'm over there. They're feeling like a circus clown. They're feeling ridiculous. And I'm giving the big thumbs up going, wow, okay, now we're cooking with gas. Let's turn the flame up another notch. And it's a safety mechanism. It's all about judgment. Here is the thing. And this may hit you like a ton of bricks. You've already figured out what I'm thinking. Adam, do you have any idea right now what I'm thinking?
Nope.
And I have no idea what you're thinking. I have to ask him if I want to know. And guess what? You can ask people what they're thinking and they could lie. So stop working from what you think we're thinking about you and show up and be you. And then we won't be thinking anything other than you're fabulous. And that we can see, right? We put this in place. I'm going to be, because they're thinking no. And that's when we do start thinking, oh, I wish this guy was interesting. Where if you really showed up, you would move us in ways that would change our life for the better. But you're the one that has to rip the Band-Aid off.
Yeah.
I can show you how, but I cannot climb in your mouth and do it.
We have the opportunity right here and right now to change lives, change lives, to connect deeper, to come alive, to inspire others to come alive as well. But it takes a lot of letting go, and it takes being present. It takes opening your heart. So let's ground this conversation. So where can the listeners start today? Obviously, they don't have the access to you right away unless you're knocking at Tracy's door, which we'll tell you how to get a hold of her in a bit. To have the coaching to where you can see what's, unseen at their standpoint, but we can come up, we can get a better grasp on, even in this conversation, of some of the things that happened in our early childhood that but caused us to close off more and more and more. And we can look at those and just give ourselves permission to say, hey, look, I was doing the best I could with what I had. I felt at that standpoint, that's who I needed to be in order to be safe and to be liked and all that. But if I'm still working from that place now, I'm working from a victim mentality because I can do something about it today. So let's ground this a bit. Besides staying present, what can people do to really start to come alive in their own?
Well, think of everything as just a conversation. You're having a conversation with somebody you know, like, and trust. Bill and Judy are friends of mine. And in my mind's eye, whether I'm making a video or recording a podcast or teaching or whatever it is, in my mind's eye, I'm sitting at the kitchen table talking to Bill and Judy. And everything is a conversation. A conflict is not a conflict, it's a conversation. The opening of the video where nobody's present, well, of course they are. Bill and Judy are here. Everything is a conversation. And what that does is it's an organic way to get you out of your head and get your voice moving. Because when you're having conversations with people you know, like, and trust, you have more flow in your voice. You're not coming from the place of, wow, video is weird. It's really weird, which is what happens to people. And then everything sounds the same. So you can definitely, that's a huge game changer, is have somebody in your mind's eye that you know, like, and trust, and turn everything into a conversation.
Yeah. And I'll add on that real quick. And that was yet again, I mean, it's kind of funny. We've covered so much, and it's just like, that was game changer. That was game changer. That was game changer. Cause it all was. And even that helped me that was the seed of the conversation, where it's like, who are you speaking to? I was like, everybody's like, no. When you speak to everybody, you speak to nobody.
Yeah.
So then you started, talking about Bill and Judy, and I love Bill and Judy now. And I do. And I'll think that in my head sometimes, but I got to a standpoint as I wanted to connect and just have a conversation with my grandpa, who's passed away back in 2006. And I just tell him what's going on and what I'm excited about and what I'm learning, and literally just speak to him. And I can see him in my mind's eye, to where I want to make sure that in this world that we're living in now with technology and, all the social media and stuff, that I can help whatever I'm presenting to him to land in his lap, to where he gets it, he understands it. There's no guesswork. And that's the work that I come to do, is to make things so easy that, grandpa, grandma, the 4-year-old nephew, or anybody can grasp it. But I'm also going to slow down and make sure that I'm fully present with that person, because what a sacred opportunity to connect at a whole different level. So I love that conversation of Bill and Judy. And every time you say Bill and Judy, I'm like, yes, I love Bill and Judy.
Yeah. Bill and Judy are legendary. And that what you were saying made me think of something else that people can do. We've talked a lot about trying to find the right words. And the best way to trust that you're going to have the words, I can say that to you, but we've got habit we're dealing with, is you work from the place of what I call message. And the message is in your heart. And the message starts with, this is what I need them to know. I really need them to know. Okay, I've had all my words today. I have no notes. I didn't get the questions ahead of time. I'm working from the place of a core message. I want these people to maximize the power of their voice. And that is in my heart. So when I ground into that message, the words flow. When I get up here trying to answer the words, get the right way. See, I'm already messing up. I'm kinking the garden hose.
Absolutely.
We got to unkink that garden hose, and then the words will flow. So that's another thing that people can work with. And then, of course, the critical one is, what do you want me to feel? You want, and when I say feel, don't take it too literal. Don't feel like, well, happy, sad, mad, glad. Okay, that's part of it. But in Tracy land, kind of anything goes. And so feeling might be, well, I want them to feel confident in me. I want them to feel like excited about something I'm talking about. I want them to feel like this is shocking. Okay. The minute you plug in that feeling, and it can be what you feel about what you're talking about or what you want them to feel, your voice is going to go to work.
Yeah. Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. I mean, this is such a big conversation, and I'm glad we were having it, because it's the kiss of death to be boring or vanilla or just staying in one lane too long. It's the kiss of death. So this whole conversation, you guys pick and choose a couple things that you want to work on. And I think that the biggest thing that Tracy said is, are you willing to? Are you willing to come alive? Are you willing to let go of what you need to let go of? Are you willing to be present? Are you willing to connect deeper than you've ever connected before? are you willing to be the best version of you? And if you are, let's go. Let's go out there. Let's do this thing. And keep an eye on Tracy. She's always sharing great insights on Instagram and doing different free trainings and things like that. So you definitely want to get involved with that. So how do you want to wrap a bow on this thing? Is there anything left unsaid at this standpoint that we want to just leave with the listeners? Or
Well, I want to say something about willing, what you said about being willing. And I think that's so great. But I want to say to the people that maybe that's not resonating with you. The first time in my early 20s, and I'm a huge proponent of coaches and support and all of that. And I remember I had this coach and I was a little bit stubborn. Hard to believe now if you know me, but this woman asked me to do something. And I said, no, I'm not doing that, because it was a risk. And she said, okay, would you be willing to do that? And I said, nope. She said, well, would you be willing to consider being willing to do that? And I said, actually, I will. I'll do that. So you get to call the shots. You get to determine at what degree you're going to reveal you. But what is non-negotiable is that you don't reveal you, and you keep playing the same habit, and you keep playing the same story, and you keep doing all the things, and you're not getting a different result, especially inner freedom, the freedom to trust and know that you have it. That's not negotiable, because your voice is your greatest asset. And you maybe never have thought about it prior to this moment. And when I say it's your greatest asset, it doesn't mean nothing else is an asset, nothing else is important. But I want you to find the courage some way to reveal who you really are. And I promise it will change your life in ways you never even knew you needed.
yeah, the voice, it's the most vulnerable thing you've taught me. It's the most vulnerable thing. It's where people are going to be judged. We could stand there in our presence and people probably just pass us by. But as soon as we speak up, that's where judgment comes in. And the whole thing that I keep going back to is, okay, you can sit here and judge yourself, or you can be judged for doing the things that you don't want to do. You can be judged for not showing up, or you can be judged for showing up fully, because we're going to be judged no matter what. That's how people make sense of this world. They judge. You judge, I judge, we all judge. So wouldn't you rather be judged showing up with the best versions of you, playing full out, coming alive, really helping people, not from a standpoint of needing to be liked or needing to be captivating, because we're taking ourselves out of the moment if we're trying to influence how people perceive us, but rather tap into your heart, like Tracy said as well, and figure out how you want people to feel and just work from that place and get good at being in that place. And that's what I call in the Heart Center Selling Mastery Program is powerful presence. It's working from this place of inner stillness, inner heart, inner knowing. And when you work from there, the words are there. When you work from there, you come alive. When you work from there, you connect deeper than you ever thought possible. So let's work from there, you guys. So Tracy, fill us in. Let us know where we can catch up with you. And if you do have a wait list to your program or anything, or if people just want to message you to keep in the know about that, or
Sure. Well, you can find me on Instagram and Facebook at Captivate the Room. My website is captivatetheroom.com. My podcast is Captivate the Room. I don't know that I'm anywhere as Tracy Goodwin. I'm thinking about that right now. And I think I'm Captivate the Room everywhere. And I do a free masterclass a few times a year where I teach some of these principles.
Mm-hmm.
So you can certainly sign up for my free video series, The Voice Formula, if you want to get on a list and be notified when I'm going to be doing that next masterclass. But I'm always doing free trainings and trying to get the psychology of the voice message shared. So those are the places that you can find me. I definitely have a pretty good presence on Instagram.
Yeah, you're showing up often, and it's kind of funny too. And I told Tracy this just here recently. I caught wind of her years ago, And I just realized it that, I mean, everything she was sharing, it was captivating. It was. And in whatever weird, crazy world, I mean, I followed you for months and months and months, and then circled back, and then you just kind of reappeared in my life again. And I believe it was Mr. James Wedmore who had mentioned you again. And I was just like, oh yeah, I used to follow her, and he calls you his secret weapon.
Mm-hmm.
And I call you that now as well, because that's the truth. I mean, if you watch James, he's so freaking captivating. I mean, he sometimes his voice will squeak because he's just having fun. He's having a heyday. He's having a ball. He's coming alive, and that's because Tracy helped him to come alive. So you guys pay attention to what Tracy's doing. Listen to her podcast. And did you say the voice formula? Is that a .com or is that where? Okay.
No, you can go to captivatetheroom.com
Okay,
/voice formula. And it's a 3-video series that will give you some techniques that you can start working with and implementing. Some of the things we talked about today may be in there.
Very nice. I love it. I love it. So you guys take this work serious. It's had such a huge impact on my life, not only from being able to connect with people and being more engaging, but also letting go of a lot of the stuff that was no longer serving me. So this is the work, you guys. So thank you, Tracy. And I know I already said this, but drop some wisdom on us. What else do you want these people to feel in this moment right now?
Well, I just appreciate being here so much. And I guess what I will leave people with, and I know we've talked about so many things, and it might even feel a little bit overwhelming at moments, but your voice, and I've said this a number of times, but your voice is the orchestra of your heart. The only way I am really going to be able to connect with you is if you let me in. So stop working from the past, that time you got hurt back in 83, and stop working from the future of what I might think, and get in the now and show me the power of who you really are. Because you are the expert, you do have the words, and there is somebody desperately looking for you right now. And until you show up and reveal who you are, they're going to keep looking for you.
Beautiful. Thank you so much, Tracy. Thank you so much for your coaching and sharing your heart here today and changing lives. I mean, this is deep work you're doing, and there's nobody else that's doing this work like you. I can guarantee that. So thank you for what you're doing.
Well, thank you. And thank you so much for having me today. It was a great conversation, and I hope the listeners get a ton of value from this.
I know they will. So, okay. All right. Thank you, guys. Tune back into another episode of the I've changed the name, the Adam Kiddoo podcast. And also feel free to share, subscribe, leave a rating and review, as that will help us to get out and get even Tracy's message out in front of more listeners. So thank you again for being here, and we'll talk to you soon. Thank you for listening to another episode of the Adam Kiddoo podcast. If you would, take a moment to subscribe and click the bell icon so that way you get notified when future episodes air. Now, here's the thing. If you are looking for the show notes, you can find a link to those below. If you're looking for the handles of the guests that I've been interviewing, things of that nature, you'll find that here. And if there's anything else that stood out to you in the episode, or if there's anything I can do for you, please leave a comment below, or for sure message me on Instagram if you'd like, as I'm always looking to hear what's working well for you and what caught your interest about the Adam Kiddoo podcast. So, time to go, time to change the world, time to help more people. Are you ready? Let's go do this thing. The world needs more leaders. So thanks again for listening to the Adam Kiddoo podcast.